Thank you for downloading the latest episode of Positively Trek. We could not do this podcast without the support of our Patreon supporters, including Carl Morris, Joyce Marin, and Jim Stoffel. If you'd like to support the podcast, please go to patreon.com/positivelytrek. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, shoutouts, associate producer credits, and more. Thank you so much for your support. And with that, let's get on with the show. Hey Star Trek fans, just a quick reminder before we get this episode started, we are still running our giveaway of Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery on Blu-ray. All you have to do is leave us a review on iTunes, preferably 5 stars. We will be reading your review on the show, and if you do that, you will be entered in a draw for a chance at 3 copies. We have 3 copies to give away of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 on Blu-ray. Now, we want you to send us those reviews before August 8th in order to qualify for this giveaway. So we're really excited about this. Hope you'll send us a review and get your name in the running for that.
And you get a hat.
Ooh, that's right. You get a hat.
It's a Discovery hat.
Like I said, August 8th is the deadline for those reviews, so please get that into us as soon as you're able. And with that, let's get on with the show.
Yes, we are into August, which is really cool because that means back to school, but it really just means we get a new season of Star Trek Lower Decks coming in just a couple of weeks.
Oh man, I am so excited for this. Those recent trailers have just totally reignited, not that it needed reigniting, but it's totally just like amped my excitement for season 2.
Honestly, I can't imagine that we're that close already because it just feels to me like we really just finished season 1 not that long ago. Maybe it feels that way to me because I've been watching the Blu-rays, but I can't believe we're already at season 2.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm so happy that we've got it coming soon. And yeah, in some ways, it feels like it was just a few days ago or a few weeks ago that season 1 ended. But in other ways, it feels like it's been forever. It's kind of this weird kind of time that we're in right now that it can feel both ways to me sometimes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, welcome everyone to Positively Trek because we are going to talk a little bit about Lower Decks. We got a little bit of news for that. And I'm Bruce Gibson with Dan Gunther. And Dan, you look chipper today. You look happy. You look refreshed. I mean, this is your day, I can tell.
Yeah, I've taken the day off. I'm not doing any work today. And it's awesome. I really like it. I've been working like crazy lately. I've been on the road a lot. But I'm so glad that I'm able to be home today to record Positively Trek with you.
How does it feel to be on the road? Because you've been at home most of the time this past year.
Yeah, it's definitely a change to, have a job, first of all. And second of all, be on the road so much. It's definitely interesting, especially like you say, having been stuck at home and all that sort of stuff. So it's weird. It's definitely different, but I really appreciate it. And I really like being out there. And I think I've turned about 10 shades darker in the sun over the past few weeks.
That's what it is. Because I was like, yeah, you look great. I think you've got some sun on you. That's what it is.
Oh,
you got some color. Unlike me, I blend into my white wall in the background. I haven't seen the sun in forever. I do need to get out into the sun. I need a little bit of sun. Just, those UV rays. I just need a little bit of that.
Yeah, so definitely.
I'm going to do that after we record the show and get some scones because I have to go out and buy some scones for a tea party at my house. I'm not having it. It's my daughter's tea party with my wife and my mother and all that fun stuff. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Star Trek. And again, I mentioned we're going to talk about Lower Decks briefly. We have something we want to talk about Captain Proton from Voyager. We want to talk about Star Trek Las Vegas, but that's not really what it's called. 55-year mission. We'll get to that. And then here's the big discussion, everyone. We're going to talk about the doctors of Star Trek, our favorite medical officers. And we're going to cover as many as we can possibly get to because there is a lot. You'd be surprised. There's more than what you probably think. That being said, let's go into some news here. We've got Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 is confirmed, not just for its release on August 12th on Paramount Plus and CTV Sci-Fi, but also on Amazon Prime internationally the next day. on the 13th. But that's not bad, because those of you international people that had to wait for this till January of last year, months after it was on Paramount Plus, now you're going to just have to wait a day later. So now we can all talk about it a day later.
Yeah, this is great news. And, for those international fans who had to wait that long period of time for season 1, this is excellent. So yeah, it's going to show up one day later, like you said, in the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India, and the other territories where they also streamed season 1 of the series on Amazon Prime there. So that's excellent, and I'm really happy for those fans. I saw, if you want a laugh, check out Tawny Newsom's tweet about this. I won't say what she said because she uses some language that Apple Podcasts doesn't like us to use, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that they're not going to get harassed because of, something that was completely out of their control, which was the late release of season 1 for international audiences.
I know, and this is so great because now we can talk about those episodes as they come out, and we don't have to have people say, oh, I can't listen to that yet because I haven't seen the episode. I don't know when I'm going to see it. You know? That was so bad last year.
Yeah, that was disappointing, and that was tough to have to say to some of our audience members that, just don't listen to these or wait. That's not an ideal situation. We like to have a wide-ranging discussion with all of our fans and listeners and stuff. So this is really, really welcome news.
Well, that period of time, I was saying, it feels like we just ended season 1. For those who watched on Amazon Prime, that window is shorter. So it wasn't that long ago that they finished watching it.
So really, they're getting a bonus because technically, in the grand scheme of things, relatively speaking, they're getting season 2 of Lower Decks sooner than we are.
They're getting 2 seasons of Lower Decks in the same year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow, I'm so jealous. No, no, I'll take what we have right now. The sooner the better. So yeah, we're all on board. Within 24 hours, we'll all have a new episode of Lower Decks season 2 to watch together. And I assume that's how it will play out for the future seasons too.
Yeah, I think so too. That season 1 was definitely a special case because, as you may or may not remember, Discovery season 3 and Lower Decks season 1 were switched in the schedule. Discovery was initially supposed to come first, but they had to move Lower Decks up before all of those international agreements had been worked out. So that's why there was that big hullabaloo.
Oh, that's good. That we've passed that. That's great. But now we still don't know Star Trek Prodigy. We still don't have a date. We don't know where it's going to be distributed internationally. We don't know all that yet,
Yeah, really looking forward to finding that out for sure. Because that's supposed to be this year, right? Strange New Worlds as well is one that we don't know the international distribution about. There's a little bit more time on that one, though, because that's coming next year. So
I'm going to guess. This is just my guess on Prodigy's distribution internationally. I'm going to say Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that seems to be where a lot of these are going. But, who knows, right? It might be a totally separate thing that they've negotiated, maybe Netflix, maybe something else, especially with the whole Nickelodeon thing being in there as well. Who knows what effect that might have.
That's a good point too, because Nickelodeon does have its network duplicated in different countries around the world, so that could impact Prodigy. But speaking of Prodigy, last night I showed my oldest daughter, who's 19, the trailer to Star Trek Prodigy and to the Lower Decks season 2. Now, she doesn't watch Star Trek. She'll watch Discovery occasionally with me if I'm watching it, but she's not into Star Trek at all. But she kind of likes it. Again, she just doesn't watch it unless she walks in the room and I'm watching it. However, when I showed her the trailers, first of all, she laughed at the Lower Decks trailer. She thought it was funny. And then I showed her the Prodigy trailer, and when it ended, it showed the blimp that says Nickelodeon on it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, this is a Nickelodeon show? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can tell kids are going to love this. You guys are going to bring in a lot of young people with this show. I can tell. And I was like, that's the plan.
That's cool. Somewhere, somehow, Alex Kurtzman and the rest of the brass over at Paramount Plus and stuff, they just heard a ching in the background, but they don't know why, but they just heard it. They're like, that was weird.
We got to get them while they're young, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we got to get them even younger. We need to have a series called Star Trek Babies, like Muppet Babies. And we have like little Picard in diapers with Riker and Troy, and they're in the little nursery.
Just tugging on his onesie to straighten it. And yeah.
Exactly. That's it.
Riker swinging his leg over the high chair somehow, and people are like, how did you do that?
And Worf always having temper tantrums.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get another blade?
And then Data is just Data, grown Data, because he was never a baby.
I was thinking about that too, and I was like, would the joke be that he's a baby somehow and it's just never explained, or that he's just like full-grown Data?
And Picard's always running to Data going, help me. Crusher's always... I mean, I guess he wouldn't call her Crusher. Beverly's trying to play doctor with me.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Well, that's one TNG you would not have Wesley in.
That's
he
true.
wouldn't have been born yet. Oh, well. But you know what? Robert Duncan McNeill has been out there pitching Captain Proton as a series in the Star Trek universe. Now, this is interesting because this could be a lot of fun, but I don't know how much I really want this. But to get the whole gang together to do something fun sounds really interesting.
I think it would be a lot of fun, as like a limited series or mini series or something like that. I think it could be pretty cool. It's kind of funny. This is turning into the summer of Robert Duncan McNeill because of the surprise appearance of him as the commemorative Tom Paris plate in Lower Decks trailer. And then there was that interview where he said he was talking about being in season 1 and 2 of Picard at one point. And then, this Captain Proton thing that we find out he's pitched this to Alex Kurtzman and the folks over at Paramount Plus. So interesting. I don't see, I could be wrong. I don't see much of a possibility of this, but maybe. I think it would be fun, personally.
I think it would be fun, too. I don't think I'd want like a full season of episodes, but maybe I'd be wrong. Maybe I would love that, because I'm not that into Captain Proton. I haven't even read the Captain Proton novel, but one day I will. I guarantee you I will. But yeah, he was on Primitive Culture Podcast at Trek FM, and it's so funny because I'm in the middle of listening to that when this news came out. I haven't even got to this part in the interview, but hearing that this came out where he mentions Captain Proton, I can see maybe doing like a short Treks, Captain Proton, even if it doesn't bring the full cast. I could see them bringing back him and Garrett Wang, at least those two, and just maybe a couple others if they could. But then there's also talk, he said, possibly even doing a podcast, because Viacom CBS is big into doing podcasts right now and have partnered with iHeartMedia to do these. So that even sounds fun to me. I would love an audio drama. Sounds old school, because I love listening to old school audio dramas, like radio plays.
Yeah, and it would fit perfectly with the old radio serials, right? Like the old Flash Gordon stuff. That's perfect. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like the audio sounds a little scratchy, and sounds old and stuff. That would be cool.
And you need that like old-timey kind of narrator and stuff. When we last met our heroes, they were facing off against the evil Dr. Chaotica.
I think we found him right there. You're going to be the narrator. I've always wanted to do like our own radio play, audio drama. We should probably plan to do something like that. It'd be a little short thing, nothing
That'd be
too
cool,
long.
yeah.
That'd be fun. But I would love to see Star Trek do audio dramas, just like how Doctor Who does those all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I love those. Oh, my gosh, that would be excellent. I mean, think about it, because you could do a Voyager audio drama, not Captain Proton necessarily, but like Voyager or Deep Space Nine, and just bring some of those actors back. They can record from their own homes.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Alex, can you hear me? We've got to do this. Anyway, maybe if anybody's going to STLV, you might see Alex there. I don't know if he's going to Las Vegas. And again, it's not really officially STLV anymore. It's 55-year mission. We've got some new guidelines, Dan. You posted these. I was reading this morning. This isn't all that surprising to me about the vaccinations, wearing masks and not wearing masks and all that. Do you want to give us a highlight of that?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I'll read these out and give you my thoughts here. So the new guidelines say, for those who are fully vaccinated, and again, this is for STLV or 55-year mission in Las Vegas. For those who are fully vaccinated, you must bring proof of vaccination to receive a special colored wristband, which will allow you entry for the entire convention. For those who are not vaccinated or who are partially vaccinated, they require a negative COVID-19 test result, which should be taken within 72 hours or 3 days of attending the convention. For those attending Tuesday to Thursday with a negative test, you'll receive a special colored wristband that will give you access through Thursday. On Friday, they will retest those with the wristbands who will be attending Friday or through Sunday. We will have tests available at that time on a first-come, first-served basis. Per the mandates set by the state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas, effective July 30th, 2021, mask wearing is mandatory indoors for all attendees, regardless of vaccination status. Sanitizer stations will be placed throughout the convention for public use. There's also saying if you are feeling ill, please do not attend. And also, should city, state, or federal COVID mandates at the time of the convention require additional restrictions, they will be following those protocols. So I've got to say, with these, I think this is really good news. I feel like if I were going to be attending the convention in Vegas, I would feel much better about attending now that they've posted these rules and that they will be following these strictly. So just as a bit of background, I'm from Alberta, Canada, and recently Calgary, Alberta had the Calgary Stampede go ahead, and they had a bunch of regulations put in place and that sort of thing. As of a few days ago, they said there were 71 new cases because of the Calgary Stampede, and I think it's now up to closer to 150. So this is real. These events, there will be cases come out of this, but hopefully with these regulations, it can mitigate that a little bit.
It's a bit disappointing. I'm not going, so it doesn't really matter for me personally, but it's sad because I'm just thinking a couple months ago, I was thinking, and I think a lot of us were thinking that, okay, we've got over the hump, right? We're slowly going back to normal. And I envisioned this convention being fairly back to normal, and I've mentioned on past podcasts, I was concerned that, well, they may require masks, or some people might wear masks, and that's good. We got to take these precautions. So I'm not objecting to this at all. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad I'm not going now, because the feeling to me of going to a convention and having to wear a mask, and it's not that I have a problem wearing a mask, but just seeing everybody in masks. I just want it. If I go to a convention, I want it to be like a normal convention. I don't want it to be where I see the actors, and you go up to get an autograph or whatever, and they're wearing masks and I'm wearing a mask. I don't know. It's just not the same. And I feel that because of this, attendance will be lower. So it won't even feel the same.
Oh, attendance will be much lower. Absolutely. I think that was a given before these regulations came out.
So, if anybody's going, that's great. I still wish I were going, but then when I see stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, maybe it's good that I'm not going this time, because I just don't feel like it's going to feel quite the same. But I know the days that these are happening, when those occur, I'm going to be like, oh, I wish I were there.
Yeah. No, like I say, with these regulations, I would feel better about attending. I think I'd be more willing to attend, but I'm still not willing to attend at this point, just because of the danger of COVID and the Delta variant. And the possibility of bringing that back to my family or something like that. It just, to me, it's not worth the risk. But with these added precautions, there might be more people out there who feel like it is worth the risk.
Well, if it's like this in early October, I am going to a convention, but not sci-fi, not Star Trek. It's a business convention. And I am working an exhibit booth with one of our celebrities. I don't know who yet. So we're going to have a line of people coming through, and I'll be staying there for 6 hours. And I am starting to get a little concerned, because I don't know what it's going to be like. And there's going to be a lot of people that I'm going to be socializing with. So we'll see. I don't want to make this a downer. The good thing is this convention is still happening. So those who are going, I hope you have a great time. I hope it's so great that you call me and say, Bruce, you really missed out, because I want to be jealous, because that means you had a great time.
Absolutely, yeah. And to everyone who is going to STLV, be safe, be as safe as possible, and enjoy yourselves. Try and enjoy yourselves as much as possible. It's definitely going to be a unique convention experience, and maybe appreciate that for what it is too. This is definitely a unique time we're living through, and I personally don't think you're probably going to see a convention that looks like this again in the future. At least we really hope so. So
talk to your doctor about it too. And if your doctor serves on a starship, well, let's talk about that, actually. Doctors on starships. See, that's my lead into our favorite medical officers. So, Dan, just off the top of your head, if you had to pick anyone in Star Trek to be your medical doctor, do you have one that you would choose?
Oh, that's a very different question. I hadn't thought of that exactly. A doctor that I would like for myself, I think, would probably be Dr. Crusher, just because she seems very professional, very diligent, very caring, a great bedside manner. Yeah, I think she'd be a wonderful personal physician. I would love to have her as my doctor.
That's really interesting to me, because I would not pick Crusher, but I almost feel like I should. And I'll tell you why. Because I was just at the doctor's the other day. I was meeting with a new doctor. As he came into the room and doing the examination, sometimes I get like a little nervous if I'm dealing with somebody new, or I'm there for some new reason. I'm not sure what they're going to do or what they're going to tell me or anything. But all of a sudden in my mind, I pictured myself in sickbay on the Enterprise D with Crusher. Like that's where my mind went, was to her.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, maybe Crusher would be my preferred physician, because that's where my mind went.
Yeah, that's interesting, because she's by far not my favorite Doctor character. Like, not even close. But because you asked me who I would like as my doctor, I feel like I'd get along with her the most. But she's not my favorite Doctor character for sure.
So I was going to say, if it wasn't Crusher now, but if I was going to say Bashir. I really like Julian.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Julian as well, for sure.
I just like his personality, his, excitement, but at the same time, he can be very intense, and when he's researching, and he's not going to give up. But, honestly, all the doctors are great, in Star Trek. But yeah, I kind of like Bashir.
So with Bashir, I do really like him. I feel like his first couple seasons version of him kind of drags his score down, if like we're giving them like a score or something, drags it down a little bit. His kind of wet behind the ears, puppy dog love of Jadzia, kind of general creepiness just kind of drags him down just a slight bit for me. But like all the characters on Deep Space Nine, my favorite Star Trek television series, if I'm pressed, his character goes through such an amazing arc and is in such a different place by the end of the show that, yeah, he's incredible by the end.
That's what I'm mainly thinking about, is the older Bashir towards the end of the series. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I do have a new favorite doctor, and that's Dr. Culber on Discovery.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Culber as well, for sure.
I don't know what it is about him, but, that guy is buff. I mean, he looks healthy. Like, I want a doctor that looks healthy.
By the way, folks out there, if you have not seen Wilson Cruz's Instagram, my God, that man is buff. And he does post a lot of shirtless pictures of himself. And he is in very good shape.
I love how he plays the character, because to me, he can be very direct to you, like, okay, this is your problem. But the way he speaks, it's like his voice is also very calming. It's like a calm, direct indication of what the problem is. It's not this is what it is. It's this is what it is. It's just like, I don't know. I just like his delivery.
Yeah, I think like specifically of his scenes with the Mira Georgiou in season 3 of Discovery.
Yes.
Where, she's being her typical, very difficult self, and he's just cutting right through it all to talk to her and, no nonsense, state what's going on and, kind of putting her in her place a little bit. I loved that. I thought he was incredible in those scenes. I
do too. I'm glad you mentioned that scene, because that really does stand out to me. I remember watching that scene going, yeah, see, I like this guy. I want him to be my doctor.
Yeah.
but my brain goes to Crusher when I'm in the doctor's office, so I'm going to have to put Dr. Crusher at the top. But I will ask you this, Dan. Are there any doctors that would make you a little nervous to have as a doctor?
A few, actually. I think number one at the top of the list is actually a character I love. I think she's a terrific character. But I think Dr. T'Ana would scare the crap out of me to be my doctor.
Yes.
I love her. I think she's terrific. She's one of my favorite things about Lower Decks, which is really saying something because I love that series. But her kind of attitude sometimes, like, you know, she's not afraid to drop the F-bomb and really just lay into her patients a little bit, which is a good thing. Sometimes patients need that, but I'm a bit of a timid soul. I'd probably cower when she's, you know, laying into me a little bit. So, but I love her. She's terrific.
Yeah, she is. She's a little over the top for, I would not want her to treat me really. Especially if she hands my heart over to some ensign. Like, yeah. No, like, I can't deal with this. But you know what? If I was dying, yeah, sure, come treat me. But
yeah,
she would not be at the top of my list. Yeah, Tiana really would freak me out. So are there any others that you said you had a few?
Yeah, so Dr. McCoy, of course, the quintessential doctor, the template, the one we really got, you know, at the beginning. Not the very first, but the one that stuck around in the original series. I like him. He's a very competent doctor, very good. But again, just that acerbic attitude that, like, I know if I wasn't exercising or eating right, he'd just, you know, lay into me and get mean. And like I said, I'm just a timid soul. I would crumble before him because, you know, he would be mad at me a lot, I think.
But that would be a good thing, though, right? He's
it would probably
you got to
be a
get
good
straight.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I like McCoy. He would not be in my list of doctors that I'd be a little afraid to go see because I do like somebody being direct with me. And if it's like I'm not exercising enough, even though I don't want to hear it, or about my diet or whatever, because my current physician does that to me now. She's like, how's the diet? I'm like, diet? What diet? And she's like, I feel like I'm in trouble when I go in there, but I'm like, that's good because right now I am on a diet. So if she were listening right now, I have lost some weight, so I'm doing good, you know, and I'm exercising every day now, every day. As a matter of fact, I exercised twice yesterday, in the morning and in the evening. So I'm getting better at that. So I'm looking forward to going back to see her so I can show off now. I won't be in trouble.
So when you exercise, is it that thing where you're on your back and you're pushing those blocks into the wall of the Enterprise? That's what you're doing?
Absolutely. Yep. I went to the Container Store, bought some blocks, put them into the wall. Now, typically I'm on the treadmill, which is great because I also use that as an excuse to watch stuff on TV like The Expanse is what I've been watching every day when I'm on the treadmill. Oh. So, yeah. And I'm on there for 45 minutes to an hour at a time. So Dr. McCoy, I'm doing fine. Okay. I'll tell you one doctor that kind of freaks me out, and that is Phlox. I don't think I could go see Phlox. And I'll tell you why. Really? Phlox is too happy and excited to see me when I walk in. That scares me because I feel like he's up to something. I'd walk in, he'd be like, hello, Bruce, come on in, have a seat. I'd be like, wait, what are you about to do to me? Because you seem too excited. And then I'd be looking around the room at all those animals, and I'd be like, I don't know what he's going to pull on me. I just want some medicine or some, like, whatever. Give me something to take care of this, but don't, like, go into some container and pull out a snake and say, oh, I'm going to shove this down your throat. I'd be freaking out in there.
I got to say, I love Phlox. Again, like you, I don't know that I'd want him as my doctor necessarily, but I love this character. He was one of the absolute highlights of Enterprise for me. His gregariousness, his big, huge smile, his optimism, and all of that. I love Phlox. I think he's terrific. I think I could stand to have him as my doctor, honestly. Like, I think he'd be a good physician. But yeah, the menagerie of creatures kind of does freak me out a little bit as well.
Yes. I mean, I do trust him, but yeah, he would freak me out. Another one that would freak me out. Now, for those of you who don't read the novels, I'm bringing them in, okay? Dr. Ree on the Titan, because he's basically a dinosaur, and Not that I have a problem with that, but with those sharp nails on his hands and the fact that he has done things like bite Troy, like, I'm already freaked out about that.
Nah.
I don't want to go see him.
So for those of you who have not read the Star Trek Titan novels, when Bruce says Dr. Ree is a dinosaur, that does not mean that he's stuck in his ways and he's outmoded and old-fashioned. No, he's a velociraptor. He's basically a velociraptor. And that would be a little off-putting. I try not to be prejudiced. I try not to, be bigoted or anything, but a velociraptor thumping into sickbay and then, treating me, that would be a little off-putting. It'd be a little scary.
It is. And a lot of the crew on Titan is scared of him. So it's, but hey, he's a good doctor. But if you're pregnant, watch out. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
So, the other thing I wanted to mention, is there any others, by the way, that you're afraid of?
I think early seasons Voyager's doctor would be a little bit, his just kind of acerbic attitude and snarkiness and that sort of thing would be a little off-putting. He gets a little better later on, where he kind of replaces the snarkiness with a huge ego. So I don't know if that's much better, but it's better, a little bit better. But yeah, early on, he'd be another one that I'd be like, geez, this guy's just kind of rude.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with you. His bedside manner is not very good, especially in those early seasons. I would not want to go see him because he would probably just piss me off. Like, he's a little too direct, maybe, He doesn't, he's not like Culber. He knows how to say it. I'm surprised that we haven't mentioned Pulaski from the Enterprise, because I was going to mention there's a whole bunch of medical officers we've had on the different Enterprises, and Pulaski is one of them, and there's not a lot of love for Pulaski in fandom, but maybe there's more love for her than we think, but there's a lot of people that don't care for her, and I think she would make a great doctor.
I agree. I actually really like the character of Pulaski. I initially didn't when I first watched those season 2 episodes back in the day, but since then, rewatching them later on in my life as an adult, I really appreciate what they were trying to do with the character. And it's kind of sad that she didn't get more seasons to kind of explore that, because I think her character arc and her growth would have been really interesting in the Next Generation. I was thinking of this last night when you were talking about this topic, and they tried to mirror her with McCoy a little bit and give her like that relationship with Data that McCoy had with Spock. I feel like it didn't really work that well because Data's so naive and so innocent that it felt like somebody just kicking someone and them not. Spock always had those clever rejoinders and Data never really did have that. But I feel like over the course of season 2, we see those two characters become closer, and Pulaski really starts to respect Data for his intellect and his quest to become human. And I would have loved to have seen that play out over more seasons. I think by the end of the Next Generation, we would be talking about Pulaski and Data as a pairing like we do Bashir and O'Brien or something like that. Like, I really feel like that's what they would have worked towards, and that could have been really interesting.
That would have been beautiful. It's a great concept in a lot of ways. I mean, I know they were probably sitting there saying, let's do a McCoy character and let's have that McCoy Spock thing, but with Pulaski and Data. And we don't need to recreate something we've already had. So I kind of resent that. But at the same time, I do appreciate the idea that here's a doctor that has a problem with this officer who's a machine, because the doctor treats living beings on the ship, and this is not a living being, and this is a machine, so she has not been trained to take care of a machine. That's an engineering. And so for her, this is just a machine. This is, in some ways, a toaster to her. But then over time, like you said, she starts to learn that, and we've talked about this in different novels and different episodes and stuff, about there's a soul to him. He's more than just being a machine. And it would be great to see that progression continue on throughout different seasons between this character of a doctor with a machine, to find out that the machine is living, even though in the science aspects of her world, he's not a living being.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have been a really fun, interesting exploration for sure. But yeah, alas, it was not to be, and they did bring Crusher back. Who I'm really sad about Crusher actually, because did you find they just didn't really know what to do with her? Like, she's just kind of there for 6 of the 7 seasons for the most part, right?
That's kind of how I feel too, which is weird why we put her at the top of our list of preferred doctors for ourselves. I really wish they would have done more with her. And I'm sure Gates McFadden would say the same thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, just don't give her a candle and a ghost. Give her something more to do. You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, we have the new novel, Shadows Have Offended. We get a lot of Crusher in that. So if anybody's a Crusher fan, go read that book. You'll enjoy that. But yeah, you know, with the Enterprise, typically you think of Crusher and McCoy. But long before that, originally on the USS Enterprise, we had Sarah April, which we learned from the animated series that she was the first medical officer on the ship. We don't know that much about her, so I can't give you too much opinions on what I think of her as a doctor. But then it's followed with Boyce and Piper before we get to McCoy. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that Boyce, Piper, and McCoy are essentially the same type of characters.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty close anyway. They were definitely going for an archetype there.
Yeah, which we saw later in the recent novel we read for last year's Well of Souls. That doctor on there, Joe Stern of the Enterprise C, is similar personality to those and was even friends with McCoy.
One we haven't talked about that I feel like I would have loved to have seen more of as a doctor is Christine Chapel, because I actually really liked her in Star Trek The Motion Picture, where she first becomes an MD. And, you know, she's not a ton of scenes, but she's so professional and such a great doctor in that, and especially how she's relating to Ilea when she returns as the probe and all of that. I loved those scenes. And then I was really sad we didn't see her very much in the remaining movies. I think she's got a brief cameo in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, at Starfleet Command, but that's really it.
Yeah, it is sad. I would have loved to have seen more of her. Majel Barrett actually knew the guy who created Star Trek. She married him. Like, come on. Yep. Like, you have some pull there, don't you? But, I mean, again, screen time to fit all the different characters in. I mean, that's the problem. But, yeah, I liked seeing her in the motion picture. I would have liked to have seen more of her, like maybe just one more scene in one of the other movies where she had something significant to do. And then there's Mabenga, who was wasn't the chief medical officer, but was the doctor on the Enterprise that specialized with Vulcans. So I always liked his character, too.
Mm-hmm. I always like that when they show the medical staff outside the chief medical officer, because these starships obviously do have to have more than one medical doctor aboard. So that was nice to see another doctor, another full doctor aboard, bringing him in because he specializes in Vulcans. You know, that's good. McCoy probably could have used him a bunch of times when he starts complaining about Spock's physiology and stuff. But they also did that in The Next Generation. I loved the character of Dr. Solar, and we only saw her in one episode. We get kind of references to her over the intercom and stuff a few times, but I would have loved to have seen Dr. Solar in more episodes, especially since she was played by Susie Plaxon, who is terrific.
Yes, and thankfully, she does become the chief medical officer of the Excalibur in the New Frontier novels.
Yes.
So we do get a lot of her there. So I really enjoyed that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the one shout out I'll do, and I don't know that much about the character since we were talking about Enterprise officers, we have Dr. Saville, who's a Vulcan on the Enterprise F, if you do Star Trek Online or read those short stories in the magazine. We had that character there. But I don't know much about him.
Yeah, and I haven't played Star Trek Online in a number of years, so I don't know anything about him at all.
Well, what do you think of the emergency medical hologram on the La Sirena?
I'm glad you brought him up, because that was fun. The whole idea of all of the holograms being played by the guy who plays Captain Rios, of course, right? Santiago Cabrera. That was a fun concept. I love that he had different personalities for all of the holograms. And yeah, the EMH there, you know, pretty flat personality compared to a lot of the other ones, but still a lot of fun. I thought that was a fun idea for sure.
Yeah, I liked them. Again, it's just the fun idea of the different holograms with different personalities, all based on Rios. is a lot of fun. Well, I don't know how I'd feel about him as a doctor necessarily. We'll maybe learn more about him as time goes on, but he might be pretty adequate, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed to, take direction from the captain pretty well, even when the captain didn't want medical treatment and stuff. So I don't know. His English accent was pretty good too. Not bad.
Yeah. Well, are there any other things you want to mention with doctors? I mean, we covered a lot of them. I don't even know if there's any left. I mean, there's some in the novels and stuff, but those are the big ones.
I don't think so. I think these were the big ones for sure. Favorite characters, I have to go with, I think T'Ana and Phlox are two of my favorite Doctor characters. I don't know, maybe I just like the non-human doctors the most or something, because those two really stand out for me.
Yeah, I think my favorite character, I'm thinking of the EMH on Voyager. I've always enjoyed that character a lot. And McCoy, I just always enjoyed McCoy and his relationship with Spock and Kirk. So those are the two that really stand out to me.
Yeah, and it's funny, actually, McCoy, I think, is my favorite original series character. So he's obviously pretty high on my list too, I guess.
So do you have any doctor's appointments that you need to schedule, Dan? I mean, have you been getting your yearly physical? Have you been going to the dentist?
I'm pretty bad about doctor appointments and stuff, especially in the last year and a half. Yeah, it's not been great. So I should probably schedule a physical. If I was a member of Starfleet on the ship, the chief medical officer would definitely be giving a report to the captain that I haven't been getting my physicals. So yeah.
Well, I want to let everybody know that at least of now, I'm fine. I'm doing well. And the reason I say that is because I said about going to see a new doctor. Well, my physician, because of my age and some of the family history, she said, well, you should probably go visit this cardiologist and just, make sure that he thinks everything's fine and maybe do a stress test just to make sure everything's going well and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, I complained on Twitter of all the paperwork they made me do. And I've had so many people reaching out to me, oh, I hope you're okay. I hope, you're getting better. I'll pray for you. And I'm just like, it's just a precaution of hey, let's just make sure everything's going well. But I feel great. So I just want everybody to know, thank you for your concerns. But so far I'm doing well. When I go for the stress test in a couple weeks, I'll know differently.
Well, hopefully in a few weeks you can sing that little song, "Gonna snap my fingers and jump for joy. Got a clean bill of health from Dr. McCoy."
I'll do that.
Awesome.
All right, Dan. Well, when you're not singing, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Kurtrats. You can also find me on YouTube at youtube.com/KurtratsProductions. As I've said, it's been a little quiet over there because I've been on the road so much. But of course, once Lower Deck starts, I will be making videos breaking down those episodes and the Easter eggs and all that sort of stuff. Really looking forward to that. You can also find me on my favorite hangout on Facebook, which is the Positively Trek discussion group.
And you can find me on Twitter at Admiral_Rex, and you can find me occasionally on the Star Wars Report podcast and on Literary Treks occasionally. And also, our next episode is a book club episode coming out Friday. It's Deny Thy Father, one of the Lost Era novels, which involves a young William Riker as a cadet. So you might want to listen to that and read the book and check it out. And also, we want to thank our patrons on Patreon for supporting the show. We really appreciate it because that money helps pay all the fees and things we need to do to get this episode out every week to you. So if you want to contribute to Patreon, just go to patreon.com and search for Positively Trek. And you can contribute there and get some episodes early and some original stuff we'll throw in there every once in a while. And don't forget about our contest to win Discovery Season 3 Blu-ray sets with hat. Give us that review on Apple Podcasts. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. And by the way, U.S. only. Sorry. But thanks, everyone, for joining us. And till next time, stay positive.